Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Business Spotlight. I'm your host today, Todd Rodden. I'm a certified executive and business coach. I own Aspire Action Coach based out of the Dayton, Ohio area. And today I'm thrilled, excited. We have Greg Loughnane here. Greg is the CEO and co-founder of AI Makerspace. So he and his team are really on the leading edge of some of the new technology. They're focused on training and consulting activities, both AI as well as large language models. He'll go into more what that means and how that applies to you as a business leader and a business owner. And also very important to him is building a community of knowledge-based experts and of information sharing across these leading edge technologies. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time today, we're glad to have you here. We encourage you to check out other videos and to subscribe to the Business Spotlight series as well. So not only you get this great message today, but other drops that we have from other business leaders. So Greg Loughnane, thrilled to have you here. Excited to learn even more about AI and large language models. So take a minute, introduce yourself, talk a little bit about AI Makerspace.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. It's great to be here, man. Like you said, I'm the co-founder and CEO of AI Makerspace, and this is a company that provides training and consulting at the open source edge of AI. So what that means is that we're actually teaching how to build with large language models. These are really AI models that have kind of taken the world by storm since ChatGPT came out. And I hope most of your listeners are familiar with ChatGPT and how that works. The core technology behind ChatGPT is the large language model. So the concepts and the code that you need to build applications like ChatGPT and beyond ChatGPT, from just building simple applications to deploying those application prototypes into production environments. This is what we teach in our courses, and this is what we teach through our YouTube content. So we're trying to really accelerate LLM, large language model application development for both individuals and companies. And as you mentioned, we are doing our very best to empower folks around the world who watch our content and who are part of our Discord community to build, ship, and share awesome LLM applications as part of a community that's all sort of moving in the same direction out at that open source edge.
Well, that's really impressive, Greg. I'm curious. I looked a little bit at your background. How'd you get started in AI? What's the fascination there? What really got you deep in the passion that you're using to drive forward that way?
Yeah, I was kind of always obsessed with what it means to optimize things. And in fact, I actually sort of went to school, all the way through, kind of got mechanical engineering, undergrad and master's, and eventually got a PhD in engineering in optimization. And this was circa 2015. I get done, I'm looking at, what's the job market like? What kind of things are there out there that I can apply all this theoretical skill that I have to? And everybody's like, do you know about this machine learning thing? Do you know about this AI thing, this deep learning thing? And I was like, I don't know a lot about it, even though here I am with this PhD, and I don't know enough to be relevant to industry. So this sort of set me off down the path of really understanding sort of why is it that I just went to school for 10 years and don't know the stuff I need to succeed? And what is the stuff I need to succeed to really create real business value for real companies with tools that leverage data, tools like machine learning, deep learning, AI, what's now become known as generative AI from these large language models is sort of the newest iteration of all of this. And so, since about 2015, I've really been doing my best to keep up with the Joneses and to help others to sort of say, hey, listen, if your goal is to be useful to industry and to get a job and be useful to yourself and to start creating value for yourself, for your family, for your community, for your company, and for the world, you probably don't need to go to school that long. There are probably a specific set number of things you need to do and you need to do well. what are those things and how are they evolving with time out at the edge? That's sort of been my obsession since then. And finally, 9, 10 years later, I've started to figure out how to really monetize it and do it in such a way that's creating value for the customers, for the students, for the learners, but it's also creating value for the company. It's fundamentally important, as you know.
So talk through, you mentioned your customers. Who are your target customers, right? If someone's that listening to this, how do they know, hey, this, there's an opportunity for me with connecting with Greg and AI Makerspace?
Well, this is the interesting thing about the edge, man, is you'll find all sorts of interesting characters out here. Now, our core customer is going to be the person who's been working for 3 to 5, maybe even up to 10 years as a data scientist slash software engineer. Maybe they're a data engineer or machine learning engineer, but they're fundamentally somebody that builds software for a living. Out on the coast, when you say engineer, you typically mean software engineer. Out here in the Midwest, we got to be real specific. So when we say engineer in the AI space, we're often talking about software engineer. So this sort of software engineering background is where people are coming in from most of the time, as well as the sexiest job of the 21st century. We heard data science, data science, data science over the last few years. And so these folks at the edge of data science, interestingly, are the first to get automated and get cut by that razor's edge of what's happening out in open source. And so they are the ones who need to learn as quickly as the machines, and we try to help them do that. So that's our sort of core customer. But it's amazing because you'll find, 17-year-olds that are like just hungry, taught themselves how to code, ready to get after it. And they're coming in and they're able to perform as well as anybody else because they're willing to put in the work. Now, on the other side, you'll have folks that are already retired. You'll have somebody coming in saying, I was retired, Greg, but man, this stuff is so cool. I came out of retirement. I want to learn this stuff. I want to build something that's now, I feel like I can do it. I feel like I can build my thing now. And I feel like this is the technology that's going to help me do it. So, it really spans a really wide spectrum, because what happens is over time, the level of abstraction you're able to leverage these tools with, that you're able to sort of use a low code or no code solution. You don't have to know all of the code you used to have to know to be able to really prototype something. And so we're really seeing kind of this proliferation of these tools across a lot of different folks. But again, our core customer is that advanced developer who has the background in machine learning, who has the slight background at least in software engineering, and then we sort of are converging those two into this kind of large language model application development.
So if I'm one of those folks interested, where can they best learn more about some of the programs you offer, some of the training you offer? And then conversely, I know you're also growing the consulting side of your business as well. So maybe then share a little bit more about that component.
Yeah, I mean, the best place to find us, you can find us on YouTube at AI Makerspace, and you'll find we're on YouTube Live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, where you can learn something new about the space, what's happening out at the edge. We've actually got a couple of events this week, Wednesday and Thursday, including one brand new model that came out last week. So you can jump into YouTube at any time. We've got a number of playlists that you can get started learning. There's always concepts and code provided in each YouTube video. You can just click on the code and you can run it yourself. So you can start learning there for free. You can also jump into our Discord channel and you can start engaging with others that are building, shipping, and sharing as well. Now, on the consulting side, what we've started to do is we've started to really focus on listening to our customers that are coming to us for training. And a lot of times people will say, hey, Greg, can you help me build this thing? After they understand, they get our training, they can sort of speak the lingo of the edge, so to speak, and we can sort of talk to them about what exactly their company needs, what exactly are the issues that they're facing as they either build their prototypes or they try to take their prototypes that are working into production. There are some sort of unique use cases there where if you're dealing with an open source tool that's not really well supported yet because it's so new, but you're trying to put it in a production environment that is not allowed to go down at 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. That's just an absolutely unacceptable thing. There are some, really interesting cutting edge companies doing some very cool things that we're chatting with about how we can be of use to them, both on that open source edge in production, as well as just trying to figure out, what exactly should I be building with these large language models, doing a little ideation with them on the prototyping side. So, if you're interested in either of those, most likely, I think your listeners are going to be more on the ideation and prototyping and thinking about what should they be building and why. That's something that will sort of just, come in for half a day. We'll come in for a day and we'll help you sort of think through, okay, based on your roadmap, what are your use cases? What is the lowest hanging possible fruit for you to start creating real, genuine value with these tools today? So you're not just dumping a bunch of money in and maybe never getting returns, but you're actually doing a minimally sufficient development to show, hey, this is going to work. And then you can keep, the money coming in, reinvesting it back into your generative AI and large language model development process.
Hey, thank you for that. That's a great lead in because again, our community mostly focused on business owners, business leaders. They're hearing a lot AI, generative AI, a lot of terms, and some familiarity with. What's your advice to business owners that how to get up to speed and try to understand, hey, how does this apply to me? How can I use this as an advantage? How if I don't learn how to use it? How is it a threat based on my competitors?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best place to start. It's kind of like the best place to start when you're building anything, right? It's like the pre-mortem, right? What's the worst possible thing that could happen if everything is screwed up? And, really, it's like it could be existential for many businesses. And eventually in the 21st century, it will be existential for all businesses. The question is, where is your business along the curve of sort of adoption of new technologies? If you're very, very far back, you clearly have a lot longer. Like you can look at industries in general. Manufacturing is an industry that's very, very far back when it comes to adoption of brand new technologies. And so you'll probably be able to stick around in an industry like that for a while without really doing a whole lot, but you are opening yourself up the longer you wait to potential existential catastrophic, you're out of business kind of competition that might manifest in the future. So today, what you should be doing is you should say, okay, worst possible thing is I'm totally out of business. Okay, that's unacceptable. What can I do to avoid that today? What you can do is you can say, okay, where am I today with technology, with automation, with streamlining my processes, with trying to make things more efficient within my business? Whether it's, you can start internally, you can talk to your internal stakeholders, your employees, you can say, okay, what would you like to not have to do that's so tedious? What about your job feels like it isn't something a human should be doing? Maybe we can start thinking about how to automate that away. Like for instance, a service technician or something on a machine that is fixing the same problem over and over and over. Every single time they have to go through the same exact PDF. They have to control F the exact same stuff. And then the next person that comes in, when that guy's off, he has to do the exact same thing over and over and over. We're not generating a sort of knowledge base that we can easily engage with. Or, even just something simple like you're behind the machine fixing something. How can you chat with something that gives you a little bit more instruction versus having to come out and there's a lot of sort of 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there things that become very, very duplicative that you can look at that are just easy ways to save money doing what you're already doing. So that's internal stakeholders you want to look at, and then you want to look at external customers. You want to say, what could I potentially do to improve the customer experience and make it less friction, make it more streamlined, make it so that it's easier for them to say yes and for them to pay me? What are the things, whether it's billing or invoicing? Sometimes people drop the ball, like law firms dropping the ball, at just getting paid step, right? How can you just this isn't necessarily AI. This is just simple process automation. And so if you're not doing simple process automation, start there. I would also say, look across your industry. What is the most impressive, most technologically advanced competitor in your industry doing? if you're at least within shooting distance of them, you're probably fine. Okay. You don't need to compete with Fifth Third Bank or something if you run a small plumbing company, right? That it's just it doesn't make any sense. You don't need to compete with OpenAI, right? So you want to make sure that you're not the furthest behind in your industry of all your competitors. You're focusing on the things that can streamline your processes inside, that can streamline your customer's experience. And if you want to take it to the next level beyond that, there's a lot of things we could get into, but I think that's the place to start. So what are you doing today that you can maybe outsource a little bit to some automation and in a way that will either make your customers' lives better or your employees' lives better.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the place we should all be starting.
So valuable there, because you talk to almost any business leader in any kind of industry right now, especially if they're not the biggest player in the market. They're trying to win on having a better customer experience. So how can they take out friction, make it more seamless, right, for that consumer, to really separate them from the others? And then everybody has challenges around staffing and finding good people for their roles. So if you can take out some of the busy work from your great people and get them more focused so they can achieve more, generate more revenue per hour, right? You're head and shoulders above it. Plus, they're going to be more satisfied employees, right? They're going to feel like they're contributing more value. So a winning combination there. You learn how to use these tools that you're focused.
Yeah, and I just want to sort of jump in on that, triple down on this sort of like they're not just, you're not just freeing them to generate more revenue, but you are doing that. And that's important as a business owner. You're sort of freeing them to do the things that are uniquely human that must be done in your business. And this is sort of the sort of guiding principle of the 21st century of business is you want to make sure that you're not bogging down your people with stuff that is soon to be automated, because really people are all worried about automation. They're worried about getting automated and losing their jobs. Like, what's going to make you lose your job is if you keep doing automatable things. That's what's going to make you lose your job. To really make your people robust to automation, you need to be automating away the most tedious of those things to keep sort of bringing them to that next level of abstraction, like we talked about with the coders having to do that, and you can do that today. It's the same exact thing with every single role in the 21st century. We've got to find that next level of abstraction. And if you can help your people do that, then whatever you call it, AI, machine learning, automation, improvement processes, whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. You're on the path to being really an unautomatable business, and one that's not going to be able to get taken down by competitors.
So we talked about the applicability to business owners. Now let's shift that lens. You're a business owner, a business leader as well. So talk through you've got a fairly new organization. Talk about kind of how you're organized and your role with AI Makerspace.
Yeah, I sort of have a unique role because it's sort of half CEO, half kind of front man teacher, and first and foremost educator, right? So I'm sort of out there trying to lead the way in terms of telling people about what concepts they need to be aware of, sort of what exactly they should be thinking about those concepts, how they can leverage them in their own lives. And then there's the entire, sort of running of the business, sort of after you're not on stage anymore.
Oh yeah, that.
So yeah, it's like these are both sort of full-time jobs, and so balancing them is often very difficult. I was talking to a buddy of mine in a similar situation recently, really kind of a mentor of mine, and he's like, yeah, it's like, I wish I had an answer for you, Greg. It's not easy, right? And so I think what my role is more and more to play the rollout on stage, but to then focus on, okay, what's the strategic vision for the business? Where are we headed? How are we going to get to the next phase of growth? What are the things that are needed in the background to sort of put all that together? Now, I do have a founding team. I have a CTO who he's the coder, man. I could not do this without him because, like, I can talk about it. He writes the code, right? He shows everybody how to write the code, and he's an absolute legend at doing it. So, the importance of team, like, this could not happen without him and I both being sort of at the helm there. And then there's also a COO in the business as well. And she is unbelievably useful at doing the things that, I'm not naturally inclined to be good at or to enjoy. Writing processes, making, scheduling, getting everybody moving in the same direction, getting all the people on the bus, herding cats, in many, many ways is very, very important in community. So, for me, like, I'm really spending my day-to-day focused on being the teacher, being the strategic visionary for the company, trying to decide where it is we're going. And then, of course, I'm also the number one sales leader and customer support specialist as well. So that's the sort of down in the dirt stuff that, everybody's got to do. And as we continue to try to figure that out, it's something that the burden continues to increase. So, eventually I'll bring someone in to help, but that's where all the learning I think happens early on as you're trying to get ready to scale.
So what's the biggest thing of learning you see for you on the horizon?
Realistically, so there's of course the teaching and the open source edge, and that's all there, and that's going to continue and all that. So I wouldn't say that's the biggest thing. I think sort of from a business leader perspective, honestly, it sounds probably cheesy and sort of classic, but it's really, like so many businesses in Silicon Valley and in other places, they're all product businesses, right? We're not in a product business. We're a service business. And as a service business, we're not looking to automate everything and outsource everything to machines, right? This is a human-centered business. And man, if it isn't dealing with people that I have the most space to grow and learn for sure. Because in order to build this business into what we believe it will become, we're going to need a lot more people to take part in this. And getting them all moving in the same direction, following the same roadmap, behind the same vision, and roughly moving the way you need them to for the business to work. That's the biggest challenge on the horizon for us. What do we need to do? What are the different pieces to the puzzle we need to stick into place so that that foundation is there to support that movement? That's something that, that's going to be the next great adventure for sure.
Yes, the challenge of all business leaders, right? How to get the team aligned, everybody in the boat rowing together.
Yeah.
So,
Right. It's a beautiful thing when it happens for a day, right? And then and then trying to scale that out, I think is something that I'm very much looking forward to the challenge, but it's going to be a huge one. And I have a lot of growth there, a lot of leadership growth, a lot of management growth, sort of the classic business stuff kind of comes really into play, especially as you have something that's succeeding and then you want to make it bigger,
So you started to I think reach into this. So what's your longer term vision? You look down the road, 3, 5 years. Where do you see this evolving to? Whether the
Yeah,
team, the
okay.
business, the offerings.
So 3 to 5 years. I think where we want to be is we want to continue to grow out our training core business, and the core of our business is our content, our courses, and our community. So we want to essentially 10x. We're always focused on sort of the next order of magnitude in everything that we're doing. So we're sort of focused on the transformations that we're providing for students, because our business doesn't work unless we don't just provide training and get paid for it, but we actually are training people that know how to create real value in the world and are sort of 10xing the investment they made with us in their own life. So first and foremost, content, courses, community, grow this out. This is our core focus this year, and really solidify it and make it into something that is kind of bulletproof moving forward and a little bit more scaled. Then we're going to layer in more and more of the consulting, because the reality with training is if I'm teaching it, if my co-founder's teaching it, if we have a couple other people that can teach it, you're limited fundamentally by the amount you can scale. But the consulting piece is much more scalable. The long tail of consulting, I believe, is where we're going to have most of the growth of the company in the next 3 to 5 years. So for us to sort of go from $1 million business to a $10 million business, that cannot happen. with training. We have got to leverage some of the more classic ideas about how you build an institutional hustle business, like a consulting business. What can we learn from other similar institutions like law firms, and like how can we sort of bring some of that in, connect it to our core flywheel of content, courses, and community, and grow that out is going to be really the most interesting space. And then, I would just sort of caveat all of this with the fact that I like to say, like, sort of even the leaders of the free world don't really have a 5-year plan because everything's going to be different by then. So, I'm focused on 1 year at a time right now, especially at the edge of open source AI. And, I'm grateful for every day that comes. I would love to see us continue to reach the next order of magnitude. It's going to be painful to get there each time. This year, I believe we're primarily focused on training, and then we're going to build out the consulting business as we go. That's going to allow us and hopefully give us the capital to do lots more interesting things, whether it be through acquisition or it be through, whatever means will be necessary for us to try to continue to create as much value for people, and companies, accelerating their development and their adoption of these technologies so they can stay in business as possible.
So talk a lot about being on the leading edge, right? Of not only the technology, you also recognize growth as a business leader. I'm curious, what do you read or who do you follow and listen to gain insights and to grow your knowledge and skill set?
That's super interesting. I mean, because what we do is so fundamentally tied into Silicon Valley, I'm very, very tied into a lot of the folks in the venture capital scene there. Andreessen Horowitz guys, I love sort of listening to what they have to say. But the reality is we're not venture backed. The reality is we shouldn't be venture backed. If we need investment, we'll need it for a specific scaling moment in time, and that's it. And so the more that I get into this, the more I realize nobody's got the answer for me. And so I kind of end up revisiting the more classic ideas. Like I had a few years where I sort of obsessed over reading every single business book that I could find. But interestingly, now that I'm sort of in it, I'm kind of too busy doing stuff to read much, but I find myself revisiting ideas like from classic entrepreneurship school. So I'll go back and I'll grab the spreadsheet, on like how to do valuations or something, and I'll be like, okay, yeah. Or I'll go and I'll reread parts of books like classical, like the E-Myth. You just need to be reminded, you just need to be reminded, like, to stop working in the business all the time and get on the business. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're right, Michael Gerber, right? Or it's like,
I give that to every client, by the way.
yeah. I mean, it's such a classic, right? Or you think, or like I go back to the Eliyahu Goldratt things, like, what's the goal of the business, right? And it's like then that guy, I mean, you talk about optimization nerding out. It's like I can listen to that guy all day. But even like I really like listening to sort of Jocko Willink about sort of thinking about leadership. I like to, it's sort of like when I need something, I know where to go to get it. And it's something I've already read before. Like I've read enough, it's time to do, but I'll pull up specific Audible chapters. And then of course I have all of the newsletters to stay up on sort of the state of the art in AI, and I'm on social media, watching people in the space, but that's sort of less of a kind of foundational business perspective, more of an AI thing.
So as you talked about, hey, focused on 1 year horizons. If you look over the next year, what's the biggest challenge you see in front of you?
The biggest challenge is finding our footing in the core flywheel of the business so that we can grow the sort of consulting practice out the way we really believe we should be growing it. And to put all the pieces in place that will help support us as we continue, as we try to abstract for the first time as sort of the founding team from some of the tasks that we do. You know, putting the right contractors in place, starting to abstract, right? I think that's the biggest, you know, sort of growing up from like a toddler to, you know, now we're walking is something like, you know, I've been talking about hatching the business in the incubator. I feel like maybe we're sort of at this sort of hatching point, but it's like, okay, and now it's like, can we walk, right? And maybe crawl, walk, run, you know, that kind of thing. But I think it is, for me personally, I think it's finding my footing within the core flywheel of the business to be able to add that secondary, that tertiary, that auxiliary piece that's going to be the bud and the seed of the future of the business, and sort of building out the R&D department, if you will, something like that.
Okay. So before we hit our final question today, and you mentioned some of this briefly already, what are the best ways for folks to stay connected with you, to follow, and to learn more?
Yeah, LinkedIn. You can find me, Greg Loughnane, on LinkedIn, at Greg on Lock, L-O-C-K, on Twitter. You can also find us at AI Makerspace on YouTube. That's going to probably be the best place. And then if you're interested in joining our community, you can feel free to reach out to me directly via DM, or you can just hop into our Discord. AImakerspace.io is going to have all your links to where you need to get to. And, you know, if you need anything, or if you're interested in getting into the space, don't hesitate to reach out. Love to hear from you.
All right. Hey, thank you. So final question. What inspires you today? Right.
I think the thing that's so inspiring, we kind of touched on a little bit, but the opportunity space that exists for all of us in this new paradigm of AI tooling and of capabilities for us to do amazing things with very, very, very little actual technical effort and skill, but mostly just our own intuition and what we believe we might be able to build. I mentioned, you know, 17-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds. If you think there's nobody like you out there trying to pick up these tools and get after it, you're wrong. You know, this is the best time that's ever existed to get into a new space. It's the easiest time that's ever existed to get into the new space. And it's going to be incredible to see what people continue to build, ship, and share broadly in the industry. But specifically, what inspires me most are the people in our community and the stories that they're actively writing in real time. There's some incredible builders, shippers, and sharers out there. And if you'd like to be one of them, we'd love for you to join us and inspire some others as well.
All right. Hey, thank you for sharing that. And I love that. Inspiring, right? Not only about the components of people, but hey, there's never been a better time to move into a new space like where you're at. So thank you, Greg, for sharing your story. Again, for listeners, encourage you to go out the various social channels that he mentioned, in particular their YouTube channel, AI Makerspace, weekly broadcasts there, and continue to grow your learning and understanding around these vital tools that really are going to sweep across all industries and are. So again, for our viewers, also encourage you to, again, subscribe to the channel so you can receive future drops and messages from inspiring leaders like Greg. So again, Greg, thank you. And thanks to all our viewers today, and hope you all have a terrific day. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. See you later.